Alright, so for our last lesson, we are looking at similarities in triangles.
Exactly.
Just kind of working with some of the relationships between there.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I have a triangle, and inside this triangle I've got a set of parallel lines. So if RS is parallel to XY, then I can set up a proportion. XR over RQ will equal YS over SQ. Or, in other words, if you have parallel lines in the triangle,
Oh, okay, I get this.
the little left over the big left will equal the little right over the big right. So little left over big left will equal little right over big right. Or you can flip it around. It doesn't matter how you start it as long as it's the same. So if I start
Does the little always have to be on top of the big?
No, that's what I'm trying to
what's
say.
the
The
little,
little
what's
doesn't
the
have to be
big?
on top, you just have to be consistent. So if you start with the big one on the first, if you do big over little, you have to go big over little. So
Does
it
it always
actually
have to be
doesn't
right?
matter. What?
Does it always have to be the left equal to
No.
the right?
Well, yes, but you can do right first. So remember the things with our proportions. We could flip these around. We could flip these around if we wanted and do big left over little.
You just have to flip both sides. You should.
Yeah, we have to flip both sides. We can do big left over little, which equals big right over little. It doesn't matter how you start, as long as you're consistent. If you start with big on the left side, start with big on the right side. And you could flip it around and do right first and then left. It doesn't matter. As long as you're
Always make
consistent.
sure big is on top of little or little.
It
is
doesn't
on
matter.
top.
That part doesn't matter as long as you're consistent.
Oh.
So if you start with big on the first one, start with big on the second.
That's what
If
I
you start
meant.
with little, okay, yeah.
Wait.
Realsies. What's your newspaper called? That newspaper? Let me get you one.
I'll get you.
I call Goldpiece headphones.
Did I really move the G on accident? Whoops.
Have your lessons been taking like longer than usual? Because I used to have like 20 minutes of homework,
Alright.
and now I only have like.
We'll get you caught up in this slide in a minute.
It just depends on-
So we're going to practice this a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and look over here at this triangle on the right side. I can find the value of x. So, when I look at this, I'm going to do, it doesn't matter the order we start with as long as we are consistent. So I'm just going to start with the big one. I'm going to go big over big, and it's going to equal big over big. And we can solve it for x just by making a proportion. So 12 over x plus 1, so that was big over little, big over little, and it's got to equal, and I'm going to do big over little again. Big is 9 over little is x. So we just got to be consistent. Big over little, big over little. And then we can go through and solve this.
Okay.
Why don't we go take my notes, man? Help you out when you take a test next week. So if we're going to solve this, let's start with Chloe. After word search. Start with that. And what would I do to solve this proportion?
Cross multiply.
Cross multiply. So I'm going to bring my x over here. And I got to be careful. When I do my x plus 1 over here, and I'm going to multiply it by 9, I need to multiply 9 by everything.
So it'd be 9x plus 5.
Plus 9, yep. Okay, so x times 12 is 12x, right? And that's going to equal 9 times x is 9x, plus 9 times 1 is 9. So don't forget, you got to do 9 times everything. And from there, we can go and solve it. Joseph, what would I do next? Oh, I
One time not there.
Say
Subtract 9x from 12x.
got X. Subtract 9x on both sides. Minus 9x, minus 9x.
But that.
We're going to get 3x equals 9. What's my last step, Caleb?
Divide by 2.
Yep. And we're going to get x equals 3. And that's it.
That's good for me.
Alright, try this one in the box.
Yeah.
I want you to find the value of A. Find the value of A. So set up your proportion and solve it.
Ah,
Oh, this is easy.
I did these right.
How did you set it up, man?
Big over little equals big over little.
So you gotta start off with like 8 plus 4 over
Solve it,
8.
Mike.
Yeah, 8 plus 4 is over.
So it doesn't matter how I set them up.
Well, like maybe up and
That, yeah. Sorry.
But I mean, you solved it.
I'm like,
I got the first one. I think it was 7
Oh,
over X
because
and then
you-
7 over X. Or X over X.
Yeah, you should have done the 7 when you did the 10. All right, I'll give you, well, another minute-ish. Let you finish it off. Did you have a question, Trista, or were you just going with one? Did you have a question? Oh, I thought you were trying to get my attention for a second. Okay, 119. I'll be that
You get 8,
is.
right?
Is it equal?
Did you get
There's too much to go on.
48 divided by 6 equals 8? Yeah, I think. Oh, it's so easy that it's boring. That's why I give up on that.
No, easy stuff is fun to do.
They're boring to do.
12 times 12 times
I like it because it's easier and I can like do it.
I envy you guys then. I envy you. So hard. man.
Because if it's hard, then I just get bored of it because I can't do it.
Yep.
Like, why
It's
is
frustrating. Frustrating.
Frustrating. So frustrating. So
Did I
serious.
do this right?
Yeah, I can move
Practice
on.
somebody, somebody, see what they got.
Yeah, we promote this guy. Yeah,
My
he's
settings.
set S.
She said somebody who's buying.
What are you saying? Yeah, like,
Get out of here.
I thought we were standing to go start.
It's true, but not what I said.
Just do that.
Hey, what the heck, huh?
Get out of
That's what I
here.
got, people. I got what? I got
What you get, Art? Teach me.
Why did I
Let's
get
find
negative?
out.
I got negative 2.5. I got 8.
Let's find out.
Let's go.
Alright, so start us off, Lark. How we're gonna set this up?
12 over A equals 8.
Oh, that's, I see what happened. You know what happened?
No.
You forgot to do, stay on the same side. You did 12 over A. 12 is on the right, A is on the left. It would have to be 12 over 18
Why?
would equal A over A plus 4. That's just how the,
But that's not how the other one was set up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to be A.
See, 12 over X plus 1.
A over what?
Oh, okay. It's A over
Wait.
8 plus 4.
A over A plus 4?
yeah. So we have to go A over A plus 4, or you could flip it around to be A plus 4 over A, and it would equal
I couldn't really read it.
12 over 18, like that.
What the 4 was under A.
Yep. Stay on the same
So
side.
did it right,
The first and second doesn't matter, but stay on your same side.
Well, go
Okay,
ahead, explain that to
let's
you,
keep
Will.
going. Ryan, what am I gonna do next?
What?
Close your chest. Thing.
So, showgaze, not chest. But anyways,
Actually,
what? Oh, easy. 18 times A, 12 times A, and times 4, and
Yeah.
18A equals 12A equals 48.
12A plus 48.
I don't
Alright,
care.
Chloe, what are we doing next?
There's no way it's
What did I tell you about your crossword?
Minus 12A. What do you mean?
Your
It's
crossword
set
A.
up the same way.
gonna be. Wait, no.
I
It's
set it
totally
up
on
the
both
same
sides.
way.
We get
So
6A.
A equals
equals
48 and then you
Joseph,
divide
what are we
by
doing
6.
next?
Uh,
Joseph.
Divide by 6.
Take
Tell him
it,
to
take
put
it
his
right
views
now.
away.
He didn't.
Names.
He didn't. He didn't have guts. He had no
I
guts.
got 32.
What are your names?
Um,
And we get 8.
oh.
Yeah, we get A equals 8. So, be careful. Make sure you do left over
I know
left
what I
equals
did.
right over right. And you gotta be consistent. So,
Hey.
little left over big left equals little right over big right.
When
Yes.
I set it up the way I set it up, I still got the same equation. I just did minus 40A on both sides. I don't know.
Let me see what you got.
No, I just restarted it, but when I did 12 over A, I think.
I wish my handwriting was 18.
I take that one.
A over
Okay.
My handwriting is the same.
12 over 8 is 18 over 8. Actually, that might actually work.
It did work. I would
Yeah,
have
because you
same
cross
choice.
multiply. Actually, yeah, that would work because you would get the same answer because you cross multiply and be the same thing. But let's be consistent.
I got negative 2.5 because I did the.
Okay, that's fine. Actually, yeah, that is a good point. Oh, because remember, think back to a couple lessons ago we talked about the different things you can do with proportions. We can flip diagonally, can't we?
Yeah.
So we could do a over 12 equals a plus 4 over 18. So you actually could do it that way, but and get the same answer. But that's just not how we're setting it up. I mean, it's not wrong. It's just I don't like doing it that way.
Alrighty.
Wait, so what?
I beat
Okay,
average.
think back to a couple lessons ago when we talked about like you could flip proportions, the top and bottom round. You could also flip diagonally and still get the same answer.
Oh my god, that took
I got
forever.
-2.5.
Yeah, that would do it.
Oops.
That was
All
fun.
right, let's look at. We're actually this is actually our second and last piece.
Alright.
So if we have three sets of parallel lines, I have A is parallel to B is parallel to C.
Yeah.
Then when I look at different pieces, I could do AB over BC, and it will equal WX over XY, which is basically the same as we were looking at before.
In other words.
In other words, if you have three parallel lines, your top left over your bottom left will equal top right over bottom right. And it's basically just like a triangle, except we're not looking at triangle, we're looking at three parallel lines. So instead of looking at a shape that will look something like this, and have a line in the middle, we're looking at parallel lines. It's kind of the same thing, basically. It's just not a triangle shape.
So technically it's like AB over BC equals WX over XY.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, I knew it. I'm done.
Yeah,
I don't have to pay
same
attention
thing.
now.
Basically the same thing as with the triangle. We're just looking at three parallel lines and not a triangle. That's the only difference. Pretty much the same concept. I'll make sure you get it all written down first, then we'll try 1 or 2 and that'll be it. Not too bad of a lesson. Got it, Tyler?
No.
I'm not done yet.
Alright, I'll give you time, Chloe. Be out your crossword going.
I wasn't on my crossword. I was
You were
listening.
earlier. You were at twice. 2 whole times.
Chloe, you have any ice in that hydro flask?
Wait, to find C.
I left it in
what
Mrs.
does-
H's class. It was in there for a while.
That's why.
Got it, Chloe?
That's why I've been using this one. This is actually my
I'm
mom's.
gonna take that as yes. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at this. So we actually have a little bit of a story problem. It's not really a story problem.
I don't like this.
It's not really a story problem. I just said that. Relax.
When we wait,
There's a picture.
It's
It's
not.
a story problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
read this, Kylie. Read this.
Three campsites are shown in the diagram. What is the length of the site A along the river?
Is this really a story problem?
Yes.
Yeah,
it
it
is.
To
No,
find
it's
it,
not.
Cookie, to find it,
Yes.
when you start out with 9 over 7.2 equals 8 over 6.4,
Uh-huh.
my god.
and
Oh,
then
close.
There's
Actually, here, you're
capitals
close.
and periods in
Very
more than
close.
one
Alright,
sentence.
so we want to find side A along the river, right?
yeah.
Which is right here. I'm going to call this X, just for fun.
X.
Okay.
Okay, for fun. I got
So, on this, I have 3 sets of lines per side, right?
yeah.
I have 1, and then 2, and then 3. I have 1, and then 2, and then 3.
The C's of what? X.
So, when I set these up, I'm going to ignore the one that that my X isn't touching. It's touching this piece right here, right?
Yeah.
Touching this side B. I'm going to ignore side C for right now. I need it in a minute for my in-class, but right now I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to set up a proportion like I did before. I'm going to go X over 8.
God damn it, I should do that.
It's going to equal 9 over 7.2, and I'm going to have to do most of this because I can't do this one in my head. X over 8 equals 9 over 7.2. And we're just going to solve it like this. So 7.2x
10.
Equals
equals 10. Wow. Are you kidding
8
me?
times 9 is 72. Oh yeah, I can do this one. Divide by 7.2 on both sides.
Equals 10.
7.2,
It's called
I
a
swear.
10. If I'm stupid, I'm stupid.
Divide by 7.2
I'm
equals 9. Equal later. Okay, X equals 10.
Oh!
Yay.
How do I know? I don't know.
What?
Not too bad.
Guess.
my work in colored pens.
It's X.
Alright, we got X equals 2.
Okay.
Alright, your guys' turn. I want you to find what is the length of side C along the road. Side C along the road. Which is right here. And to give you a hint, C, this part we're looking, it touches over here by B, right? So ignore over here by the X and the 9. So just look at the two that are touching each other. So side C is this piece, it touches side B, only use those numbers.
6.4 times
I think you'll get the same answer,
0.2.
but let's just keep it easy. So find the length of site C along the road.
Ow.
Divided by 8.
What?
Are we going side A?
Yep. Because we have 3 sets, we only need 2, so just ignore side A because it's not touching side C. Not super tough.
By 8 equals
Hopefully, at least.
5.76.
Wow. I don't know what it is.
5.76.
Yeah.
What's 46?
I got 5.
I got that too.
Too easy.
What'd you get?
5.4.
You got 5.4? How?
43. You got 46.
Turn 7.2.
Put it in the bottom. That's a
6.4.
6.4. 6.4.
All you smart people, I don't get what you're saying.
That's a point 4.
Arguing over what number.
6.4.
I don't even know.
Yeah, 6.4.
No, what did I miss? Why would it be wrong?
That's all you messed up at. Just 6.4. That's it. Ugh. Math is so boring. Just believe.
This is when I get all my.
I have no clue what it is.
God. That's why I play shogi, but I already beat the hardest one.
Well, 3 parallel, 3 sets of parallel lines.
I like crosswords because they're fun.
Okay.
I like chess and shogi because they're
Ignore
harder
this.
than
Say would it be
challenging.
this number over this number, then this number over this number? Oh, okay.
You know, doing the closest way
Because
of
we're not
saying.
using
I mean,
site A isn't even touching site C, so don't worry about it.
oh
This
yeah,
is the
do
two
you know
that
the
are
closest way to explain
I
war?
think it'll work if you did
War?
it, but just try to be consistent.
Yeah, you know one of the
Basically all I'm
closest
trying to
way?
say.
Pretty much, war is pretty much like chess but blindfolded.
Yeah, so what?
How's that?
48.
Because technically you have people in the front line, which is the pawn, or technically the
5.76.
marines, and then you have the castle, which pretty much is the like
All right,
tanks
That's
and
just
stuff.
society.
Still,
let's get this
still,
one
if you think about it, It's
started.
like playing chess but it's blindfolded.
Somebody to help us out. Nobody's
Ryan?
at the desk. I said somebody.
Ryan?
Oh, Mark, how are we gonna set this up?
I'm done. I quit. I'm done.
I quit.
Alright.
I'm not gonna listen to you no more.
Yes.
I give up on you.
Yeah.
Might as well play some Yahtzee.
Don't play Yahtzee, Ryan.
Like my
No,
sister.
turn it off.
I'm gonna play Yahtzee.
Turn it off,
Let's
Ryan.
go.
Ryan.
Where is it?
Yeah,
Is that actually a
$20.
Yahtzee game for
Yeah.
reals?
Yeah, there's actually a Yahtzee game.
You
All right,
know that?
Lark's
Yeah, she's
setting
looking
this
it
up for us. Make sure you're paying attention. So she's going 8 over 6.4 is going to equal
Can't even
7.2
get to
over
Yeah, you can.
C.
I put
That's fine to me.
Okay.
You don't have to call it C if you don't want to. Doesn't
Yahtzee.
matter.
What do you guys call
Go
it?
down, go
X or
down.
Y.
Oh, okay.
Board
That's
game
fine.
geek.
I just didn't see
It
because
doesn't matter. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It does
And-
not matter.
Alright.
All right, solve it.
Oh, one game.
Oh, me?
One win.
Yeah.
One side.
What's the probability of beating
Go
you?
down.
I'm just trying to.
Like this.
Uh-huh.
Here we go.
10
Got
seconds.
I still got half day.
Is it on Board Game Geek?
No.
Hey, turn it off. We're still doing our lesson.
I was just seeing if it actually worked.
It works. It just count. You have to go to a certain
So
site.
Lark
What
cross
site it was.
multiplied.
Is this what's going on?
And then divided by 8, and we
Oh,
get
shit.
5.76.
6.
6, yeah.
That's the highlighter. There's the eraser.
Yes, it is.
I'm too lazy to look for it.
Ooh, that's
My
cool.
sister knows what site it is
I
on
like
too.
that.
I'm too lazy to look for it.
Cool.
7, 6, there you go.
Why is this
I
my
don't
hand
know.
over so bad?
It's harder.
Put it in the middle, so I just like.
It's harder to play on this.
Next.
Alright, let me think. Alright, one last one, and it's basically the same as all the other ones. It's basically the same concept repeated 3 slightly different ways. Alright, we're going to find the value of x in this diagram. So, on this one, we could do a geometric mean. to find x, but since we are only missing one side, it's actually a little easier just to make a proportion.
I just go.
So if I can set up a proportion just like before, I'm going to go left part of hypotenuse, which is my big side,
I like to do
over the right part,
hypotenuse.
and it's going to equal the left side over the right side.
The 12 bigger than the 10.
Left
What do
over
you mean?
right is going to equal left over right.
What do you mean the 10's bigger?
So it's 10 over 12?
Yep.
Over
10 over
18
12
over
is going to equal 18 over x.
You try to
Solid.
multiply?
Yep, cross multiply. Or this one, you can actually do your fish, because there's only one x.
Okay.
And remember, left part of hypotenuse over the right part of hypotenuse can equal 18 over x. But you can actually flip around a little. Proportions are funny that way. So you can cross multiply, you can do your fish method. It does not matter. And we would get, let's see, 100.
21.6.
You would get
21.6.
21.6?
21.6.
Oh, trust you, Ryan.
Don't trust me. Don't-
21.6.
Oh,
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 confirmation.
oh.
We get 21.6 equals x.
I got
So
18.
you could do geometric mean, but
Looks like I got 18.
you got 18, Lark? All right, no, I don't trust Ryan.
It's right! It's right.
No, it probably is right, but I have to tell you what I got.
Did you divide by 10 and not 12?
No, I did 12. Was I supposed to be 10?
12 equals 18. No, you're good. You did 18 times 12.
Oh,
Divide
so
by
it's
10?
divide by 10.
Okay, that's fine. There you go. All right. Try one now. Try your one in the box. Find what y is.
Guys.
You can do geometric mean if you wanted, but it's a lot more work than just doing your little fish method. Oh, little fishy.
Good old fish.
14.4 and done.
What?
Man, I guess I'll do the homework.
It's a good call.
I might as well do it now while you're doing this.
You start your exit ticket right now.
Oh yeah, you're right. Then I can start my homework. All of them, too. All 7 of them.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Good times.
Does anyone have cheat codes?
What?
Does anyone have their homework, technically, I'm saying?
No, man.
Can you print me off my missing assignments?
They're on Google Classroom.
What?
They're on Google Classroom.
I don't know which ones I'm missing.
Okay, you're
yet.
fun.
Look on your grade reports online. Go to home access.
Okay. You're fun.
Thanks, man.
Gold, you make it so much more
I know,
difficult.
making you responsible for your own grades.
How do I set
Man,
it
I'm
up?
such a monster.
I don't know how to set it up.
Exactly.
I have an 8 in here.
If you can set it up.
It must be nice.
All right, Ryan, how do you set it up?
Oh, okay.
Calculator has chosen you.
Okay, the calculator chose me. Cool. Okay, so 24 over 16.
Okay.
Because I choose 24, you have to also choose the same side, so y over 9.6.
Yep. All right. And how'd you solve it? You do your fish method, or
Yeah,
did you?
fish method.
All right.
9.6 times 24 divided by 16 equals 14.4.
So we get 14.4 equals y.
Yeah.
Oh, I got
Oh.
12. Just kidding.
Gonna be like Lark. Don't even start with me. All right. Oh, there was one thing I forgot actually from my last slide.
Gold.
I completely forgot until we just said that. I got x equals 10 on this one. What am I missing?
Oh, yards.
Yards.
YD. Yeah.
I forgot on this one. It's a story problem, right? Everything's in yards.
It's a
But you were arguing with us.
Yards. I forgot to put yards on both my answers. That was
that's
my
funny.
bad.
That's funny.
Don't forget, so this isn't really a story problem, but because it's labeled in yards, I need my answer labeled in yards. I forgot about that. I told you guys at the beginning of like our very first lesson. I always forget those. So if I don't do it, catch me. And we're gonna skip these. You guys did fine. We're gonna skip this one. It's gonna be an A class, but all right, that's it. Do your exit ticket. I'll turn on Scribe and put your homework in the classroom. Nice job.
Thank you.
See, I don't get this.
Which one?
I don't get these at all.